Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that I'm still at the beginning of my deep dive year into the Thoth system, and it's been a really exciting journey, and I hope you're enjoying coming along with me. Or if you're new here, I hope you feel like you get something out of this video and you will join the journey with us. Before I get into this week's spread, and just in case you are new here, every week I ask the question, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week when I lay out the spread, which I've already done. But before we get to that spread, and it's going to be a really interesting one, I'd like to do a couple of things. One, I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for having hit that thumbs up button and for subscribing to the channel if you've already subscribed, because you really do help me, you help the channel, and you help other people. You help bring this video in front of the eyes of people who might enjoy watching the video, and so therefore you're helping them as well. It's a wonderful thing, and those small actions that we all take are a great blessing for all of us. Another thing I'd like to thank you for is for those of you who have asked for a reading from me. My email address is below. Shoot me an email. I can get you a reading too if you want it. So those are my thank yous. And before we begin this week's video, one more thing. Just a reminder, for some of you, these videos are a little on the long side, and that's okay. What I mean when I say that's okay is the following. You don't have to watch the whole thing in one sitting. Yeah, you can watch the video in bits and pieces. That's perfectly fine. So I recommend, if the length is uncomfortable for you, watch a little bit today, watch a little bit more tomorrow, watch a little more a couple of days later. It's all up to you. It's your prerogative, your privilege, it's up to your tastes, right? Okay, so this week's video. You know, in the Thoth system, in the Tarot de Marseille system, and in the Smith-Waite system, whatever you want to choose, yeah, in tarot systems, the Ace of Discs, the Ace of Coins, or sometimes the Ace of Pentacles, now they're basically the same card, refer to new opportunities, tangible opportunities. Now, something is about to begin, and we often conceive of it as a seed that we plant in the ground, or the first step on a journey. And when that card comes out, many of us get very excited and very interested in the scent of the new that is on the horizon. And that's a wonderful thing. And when I see that card, I get excited and begin anticipating as well. However, we often forget that for that new thing to grow, for that new thing to begin to emerge, something is probably going to need to leave our experience. Yeah, it's going to require change. And that change is not always a comfortable thing. You may be saying, I can deal with change. That's great. But still, there's an element of discomfort that we don't always recognize. Yeah? You may be saying to yourself, well, you know, I'm actually bored. I want something new. I'm dissatisfied with the way things are now. Great. However, the new thing is not going to necessarily bring satisfaction if you're not able to be satisfied with what is in your current realm of experience. Yeah? If we're dissatisfied with what we have now, oftentimes the new thing will end up being dissatisfying as well. The dissatisfied emotional stance will attract more new, dissatisfying things into our experience. So, first thing we want to do before we begin the new is clean up our environment and make space for that new thing to come, to appear, to manifest, to begin. Does that all make sense? And I think that's what this week's video is pointing to. Now, I haven't come up with a title yet. Hopefully, in the course of reading the spread together with you, I'll come up with a title that satisfies me and hopefully will satisfy you as well. So friends, what are we about to do? We're about to look at the spread. What I will do is I will show you the whole spread laid out, and we will talk about that briefly. And then we'll break it down into its bits and start reading the spread in earnest. Are you all ready? So friends, here we go. What do you think of this spread, friends? Do you like the combination of cards? The decks are all, I believe, available in one sense or another. Now, the Harris-Crowley deck that you see there, yeah? The one commonly known as the Thoth deck is available in a different form, yeah? What you're seeing there is a mass market, readily available, large version of the Thoth deck. However, I trimmed it. Yeah, I cut off 3 of the borders entirely and a little bit of the bottom border as well. So you cannot buy that exact deck, but you can buy the deck I bought and trim it just as I did. And if you want any help or suggestions about how to trim it, let me know in the comments below. I'll point you in the direction that will be beneficial for you. So that deck is available in a sense. The other deck, the Akshara deck, is available on Make Playing Cards. The link will be below. Also, the I-Ching Oracle is available, I believe, and I'll have a link to the creator's Facebook page. So you can contact the creator and hopefully purchase a copy of that deck. It's a gorgeous deck. They're in the process of creating a larger guidebook for that deck, which I am eagerly anticipating. So the decks are all available. Now, just in case you are brand new to this channel, let me give you a brief rundown of what it was you just saw. Now, there were 5 groupings of 2 cards, right? 5 pairs. 2 in the center, well, 1 pair in the center, 1 pair in the upper left, 1 pair in the lower right, upper right, lower left. And that's the order that we're going to be reading them in, yeah? We begin in the center with ether, which is our spirit, our connection with the divine. It's the numinous and the intangible in our lives, but that which is moving into manifestation, you could say. The upper left is fire, our passions, our desires, our inspiration, our fiery connection to the divine, maybe the divine male, masculine, yeah? Lower right, we had water, which is our emotions, our intuition, our connection with the divine feminine or the divine female, which we have all of that, right? And it makes no difference what kind of body we are co-creating, whether we are co-creating a male body, a female body, a trans body, a cis body, an intersex body. We all have the male in us, the female in us, right? The hot in us, the cold in us. And then in the upper right, we had air, which is our thoughts. That's where our imagination lies, our perspective, the way we see the world, and our communication. And our ability to plan and rationalize. In the lower left, we have earth, which is the physicality. Yeah, it's our bodies, it's the work we do in the world, it is also our health, again, like bodies. It's the resources. Yeah, earth is the resources that we have, be it financial, money, time, anything that we consider to be, in one sense or another, tangible or measurable, if that makes sense. So we had those 5 cards. Ether, fire, water, air, and earth. And then at the very ends, we had 2 cards from the I-Ching Oracle, which will give us advice for this week's spread. Advice, or sometimes it's a recap. We'll see how it comes out this time. So, friends, what are we going to do? We're going to start in the air and then move around the spread in the order that I suggested, and then look at the advice at the very end. Are you all ready? Here we go. Those were the two cards for the ether. Yeah? On the left, the Two of Discs, and on the right, we had the Princess of Swords. Now, I read with elemental dignities for this spread, and that's why I call it the 5 element spread for one. And ether is the only element that does not have either, is neither well or ill dignified in relationship to the other elements. Yeah, ether gets along well with all of them. And together we had discs and air. Those two are ill dignified. Yeah, earth and air are both, well, ill dignified. Yeah, earth is well dignified with water and itself. It's neutral with fire and ill dignified, which means it doesn't get along. It's in conflict with air. So these two cards together in this spot, while they don't individually conflict with ether, together they are ill dignified, right? Now you may be wondering, he was talking all about the Ace of Discs at the beginning of this video. Where is that Ace of Discs? Maybe you were anticipating seeing the Ace of Discs in this section of the spread, but no. Yeah, there is an Ace of Discs in the spread, which maybe you already recognized, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Here we have the Two of Discs, and that's where I think we should begin. Yeah, being the first card laid in the spread, that's a good reason. And here it is. It's a beautiful card, right? Now you see the two discs, each of the discs looking like a yin-yang symbol in different colors. And you see that those two discs are connected, right, by an Ouroboros? Yeah, an Ouroboros in the shape of the infinity symbol. I'm sorry. Yes, it's an Ouroboros in the shape of an, what is the lemniscate? Too much esoteric language, but it is an Ouroboros, the snake biting itself, in the shape of a lemniscate, that infinity symbol of the 8. Connecting the two, or linking, connecting, the two discs. And you can see at the very bottom, well, not at the bottom, you can see in the card, perhaps, that this card is called Change, and it points to Jupiter in Capricorn. Jupiter in Capricorn. Personally, not my favorite pairing, okay, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that both the Thoth system and the Rider-Waite-Smith system, the Harris-Crowley and the Smith-Waite decks, both emerged from the Order of the Golden Dawn. And the Order of the Golden Dawn rearranged the astrological associations for the cards. And personally, I prefer the pre-Golden Dawn, otherwise often called the Continental Tarot, organization of astrology and the cards. Now, the continental system is not monolith. There's no agreement between the explainers, the apologists, the creators of the continental tarot systems. My personal preference is what's called triplicity of decans, which means all of the planets for all of the fire zodiacal signs are all together, right? So this being an earth sign, Capricorn, would have 3 decans, or 3 decanates, yeah? The Capricorn decanate, which would be Saturn, yeah? The Taurus decanate, which would be Venus, and then the Virgo decanate, which would be Mercury. So there should only be the three planets that, for me, are most appropriately associated with a Capricorn house are, again, Saturn, Venus, and Mercury. However, here we've got Jupiter, because, again, this is the Order of the Golden Dawn. But what does that mean? Well, it means when someone has Jupiter in Capricorn, they can be a little conservative, but they're often mature. given their age. They're driven, and they have high confidence, according to the resources. I mean, just cherry-picking keywords for that kind of a person. Now, Crowley says the good fortune of Jupiter is limited here in Capricorn. Jupiter aligning with the wheel. Change, but within existing limits. Yeah, Jupiter trying to work out his relationship with Saturn. And if you know the stories about Jupiter and Saturn, you'll know that Jupiter was brothers and sisters were all eaten by Saturn, and he had to come back and kill the father and rip his brothers and sisters out of the belly of the dad, right? So there's a discomfort for Jupiter being here in the house of his father's zodiacal sign. But still, Jupiter can work it out. He can align with the wheel. He can change within these existing limits. And Saturn is a planet of limitations, right? So, movement and change in the past and present and future are indicated here. Now, this is the change card. Movement and change. Probably we're looking at the present into the future because of the nature of the reading, which is how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? Well, in the coming week, movement and change, going with the flow of movement and change is indicated here. And that change will develop in harmony with the present situation, including its constraints and its opportunities. So whatever situation we find ourselves in will have limitations to it that we can burst out of, but this card is not suggesting breaking free of those limitations. The situation that we are in will always have some opportunities. So we move in harmony with those opportunities within the limitations of where we are, when we are, and who we are. This card will also unite the elements that may have been opposite. Yeah? Opposing people, opposing expectations or aims, are able to be united here within those limitations with the given opportunities in the circumstances that we're in. So it's change within the boundaries, the Saturnian boundaries of who we are, where we are, and when we are. That makes sense, right? And that's where we begin the message from our higher selves collectively. Now that this is a time of change. Not necessarily disruptive change, change within the structures, the limitations that we are in. And that might not be as exciting or as magnificent as we would like to expect, but that's what's possible right now. Right? We're not expecting fireworks and explosions of excitement here, but new and change. Now, the challenging card is this one. Now, remember when I said that the Princess of Swords, that the airness of this card, the Princess of Swords, is ill-dignified with the Two of Discs. However, there is a caveat. That caveat is because this is a court card, because this court card is a princess, we have two elements in one. And those elements are ill-dignified within themselves. Princesses are all earth. So this is earth of air. Now, Crowley associates this with hexagram 18, which is a challenging hexagram. This is mountain over wind. So the mountain, the earth, weighs down upon the air. It suffocates ideas and freedom of thought. We may be weighed down by responsibilities or anxieties in this card. Now, with that hexagram in this card, there's a weighing down of ourselves, of perhaps our freedom of thought, what we feel like we can do or what we can view, perceive because of our responsibilities or perhaps our anxieties. That heaviness that is bearing down upon us. However, there are good potentials here. Now, the princess does not have an astrological association. She's an elemental. So the element of earth. And she's thought into action. Ideas don't like to be constrained by matter. So the challenge in the good sense of challenge, like I take on this challenge, is to put those thoughts into action so that they are not constrained. Cutting through the bullshit is also part of the Princess of Swords, according to Crowley. Now, the princess is swift, forthright. Now, she tells it like it is. She's very clever. She's brilliant, in fact. And she's sometimes impatient. And our impatience could be the challenging bit in this pairing with the two of coins, the two of discs. The princess can hold on to grudges. She can become reactive if things don't, I need both hands here, go right. Yeah, they don't go according to her plan, and so she can become reactive in those instances. She's rebellious, but she can also be rebellious for clarity, for openness, and for truth. A little bit like an Aquarian, but she's not an Aquarian. She's an earth sign. Aquarian would be in the suit of air. The swords would be Aquarian, but she's not Aquarian. But she does have that bit of, the rebellious truth teller, the rebellious clarifier. She's willing to destroy the repressive or things that restrict our experiences in life. Yeah, she's willing to cut the chains that bind, whether those chains are also there for our security or not. Yeah, sometimes the chains that we have around us are there for our protection. But if she feels bound by those chains, even if they are beneficial, she's going to cut them loose. Cut them. She's going to break them. She's going to unbind herself. She'll put her thought into action, which can be good, it can be bad. So, not bad being, it can be dangerous. It can be safe in the not good, unsafe. It can be unsafe in the not good sense. There are times when doing something that's not safe is actually beneficial, right? Take a risk, make a leap into the unknown. That's unsafe. And oftentimes we are called to do that, but that's not what we're talking about today. She will cut the chains without any discrimination. Because she thinks that they're bullshit, right? So, these two cards together, we've got change, and we have the potential to cut through to find clarity, to find our voice, to speak truth. But we want to be careful of our reactivity. Do you know what that means? Reactivity? Probably you do, but just in case. The way I'm using reactivity here, it's when something doesn't go the way you think it should go and you react to that rather than keeping calm, finding the purpose, the reason for the challenge, the reason for things not going the way that you think that they should be going. Being able to erase the shoulds from your perspective and find the truth. Instead of being able to do that, you react to, this isn't supposed to be this way, reactivity, right? So, want to be careful of that. That is an ill-dignified aspect of the Princess of Swords, especially in this week's circumstances. We don't want to be reactive. We don't want to cut the boundaries that were set. Apparently now I'm seeing them as for good reason. Now we don't want to break loose completely this week. We want to experience change again within the boundaries and borders of the experience that we're having. And that opportunities can grow within those boundaries. This is not the time to break the walls, to blow down the walls of Jericho with our trumpets. You know? So that's what we've got coming into our week right now. Looks interesting, right? So we're going to move from here up into the fire section of the spread, where we'll look at our passions, we'll look at our desires, our sexuality, our creativity, and our inspiration. We got 2 cards for that. That's a lot to cover in 2 cards. Here they are. In the fire section, you saw from left to right, we had the Queen of Cups and the Tower. Probably you're thinking, oh, Queen of Cups, cool, and then Tower, ooh, bad. However, in this particular spot, Tower, good, Queen of Cups, bad. Why? Well, not because of the card itself. You know, the card is beautiful. I think the artwork by both of these creators, Lady Frida Harris and the creator of the Ashara Tarot, are wonderful creators, wonderful artists. We're in the fire section. Fire and water are mutually ill-dignified. So having the Queen of Cups, which is water of water, in this particular spot is, you can't get around it. It's ill-dignified. Yeah, there's nothing mitigating this wateriness of this cup, of this card. Yeah, we have queens, which are all water, and then the Queen of Cups is water of water. What you gonna do? So that's the card we're going to start off. We're going to start off with the ill-dignified card, because that was the first one out of the pack. And so the Queen of Cups is associated primarily, now the especially the Thoth deck does not put only one zodiacal sign in a court card. Now the Queen of Cups, I believe, has the tail end of Gemini and then the first 2 decans of Cancer. But for me, reading this card, I'm a whole house kind of guy, and so I'm going to read this card as just Cancer, which is the domicile of the moon, from which cardinal water's vital attributes enter our reading, enter our natal charts, enter the question we are asking of the Tarot, which is how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming weeks? Except this is ill-dignified. So, the Queen of Cups is also associated with a hexagram by Crowley. It's hexagram 58, which is joy. It's a lake over lake, which, according to Crowley, is the hexagram for mediumship, for transmissions, like, you know, psychic transmissions kind of thing. Open communication. So not only psychic, but actual, you know, words and touching kind of communication could be part of it as well. Written, maybe even written communication, but open communication. As well as the more psychic mediumship and transmissions. Which is perfect for this card. Can you see the Queen in this card? She can be difficult to see for many of us. Because her head and the upper part of her body are all concealed behind this flow of water in front of her. You see the flow of water where her torso and her head should be? You can kind of see her knees more clearly down there below it, right? Yeah. The thing about the Queen of Cups is that she is intentionally difficult to see because she's considered a mirror. Yeah. She will reflect everything that is presented to her. She's that kind of an empath. Yeah. She receives and she reflects it right back. So it's difficult to actually see who she is behind that surface of water, that mirror-like surface. So the Queen of Cups is changeable. She's the changeable fluidity. English, the changeable fluidity of water. Yeah, she's pure and she's subtle. She has the desire to smooth all water into placidity. Now she smooths the rough waters in the environment. And like I said, she adopts the stance of a mirror. Yeah? In that expectations or requirements of the situation are reflected back. When Bruce Lee, also on the good side, being a mirror can sometimes be helpful, but if that's all you are, that's a very unhelpful thing. You don't actually reveal yourself, right? You're hiding behind your empathic nature. And you're reflecting everything that you get back. I know I've done this. I do this a lot without revealing the truth of yourself. You know? That's not a good thing. But on the more positive side, when Bruce Lee said, be water, yeah, become the water, be fluid throughout your life. Because that is the best way to move through any obstacles, anything that stands in our way, any kind of interference. If we are water, we can flow around, over, through, under, above, whatever. And we can slowly, as water does, we can slowly erode any obstacles that are in front of us at the same time. So, be water. That's the suggestion for the Queen of Cups. Our deepest, purest emotional nature is here. We want to carefully listen to the quiet voice from within here, because we are connected. And there's a lot of information through that connection. However, if all we're doing is reflecting what we receive, if we're not expressing our inner passions, our inner desires, our not the intuition, but the inspiration we receive, if we're not acting on that, if we're reflecting and moving like water and smoothing things over, we're not being fully ourselves. That's the ill-dignified nature of this queen in this spot. Also, Cancerians can be a little bit grabby, clutchy, right? That would be an ill-dignified attribute in this, particularly in this spread, in this position, in the time of change. Yeah? So sure, we can take benefit of our intuitive nature, we can listen to the deep voice from within, even in our fire section, but we want to do something else. Our passions are calling us to do something other, which is perhaps this card, the Tower. And you might be thinking, what the heck are you trying to say there, you old hanged man in the moon? Well, the Tower is not always a bad card, right? Oh no, it's a scary card, it's a bad card, it's an evil card. No, not always. And the Tower, especially in this Harris-Crowley deck, points to Mars, right? Which is domiciled in both Aries and Scorpio. And we're going to see a lot of Mars, we're going to see a lot of Scorpio, and we're going to see a lot of Venus in the rest of this spread. But the Tower here, Mars. When Mars is in Aries, we have cardinal fire. When Mars is in Scorpio, we have fixed water. So we have both those, cardinal fire and fixed water's vital attributes, entering our spread, entering our reading. And the Tower connects Netzach and Hod. Netzach and Hod, right? They're the lowest sephra on the mother pillar and the father pillar. So this card connects those two. It connects our victory and our glory, or the way I read Hod is our surrender to circumstances, which is a different kind of victory in a way. So the Tower connects our victory and our, to me, surrender, which particularly in this week's reading I think is significant, right? Victory through surrender, maybe. Surrender to the Two of Discs, to the borders, the limitations, the environment that we are in, surrendering to that and allowing the new, what did we say? the opportunities and the possibilities to emerge, to develop. Now, the Hebrew letter that is associated with the tower is Peh. And Peh kind of looks like this. If you were to stop here, yeah, it kind of looks like a hook pointing that way. And it's the symbol for the mouth, for speech, and the power of words. Like the words create. Also, the rune associated with the Hebrew letter Peh is Tiwaz, which kind of looks like an arrow pointing up. And it refers to the great god Tyr, who sacrifices his hand to save the other gods. That's a whole myth. If you're interested in that myth, let me know in the comments below. But the great god Tyr is the god of justice and authority. So that is part of this card as well. Self-sacrifice and success. Now, we succeed through self-sacrifice. Now, we don't lose through self-sacrifice. We don't necessarily need to always sacrifice ourselves for other people's benefit. In this case, we find our success through sacrifice of self. Does that make sense? Can you see that possibility? That's what this card is for us, particularly, I think, in this week's spread. So there's a destruction here. There's a destruction of desire and new life. There's a possibility of ruin as well, but this card is also a card of sexual magic, especially for Crowley. Yeah, sexual magic. So there's sexual energy released here. There's desire. But the most interesting thing, I think, is the way Crowley sees this card is that this is the destruction as a prelude to the Judgment card, the Eon card. And guess what? The Eon card is coming up later in the spread. So this is Prelude to a Kiss. Suddenly the title to that play, also a movie, sprang up to my mind, but perhaps because it's sexual energy, maybe. But this is a prelude to the Judgment card. This is our getting ready for that. This is our preparation. The breaking down and breaking apart within the boundaries of what we are experiencing. The sacrificing of ourselves in order for that Judgment card to be able to manifest. Right? So, what do we want? We want to be careful of being too watery right now. Now, our watery aspect, our water of water, our inner Queen of Cups, the one who wants everything to be okay. Let's not make waves, yeah? I hear you, I hear you. Here's what I'm hearing. Wonderful things, but not now. Right now, we want to find out who we really are. We want not the boundaries and borders of our situation, but our inner tower to crack open. And that's not going to happen in the Queen of Cups. Now, she's, okay, let's not disrupt anything, let's flow like water, which is wonderful. Again, in many circumstances, that is perfect, but not this week. Flowing like water this is not the time for flowing like water. This is the time for rupturing the inner tower. Yeah? Now, some of the blessings we can hold on to in the Queen of Cups, we can hold on to listening to the inner voice, because that will help us to discover where that tower and how that tower can be burst open. We want to listen to the deep voice of spirit within, perhaps. But the rest of those aspects of the Cancer Queen, they're not going to be of help to us this week. Does that make sense? So, in order for this Two of Discs change with the Princess of Swords, we want to be careful of some things. Now, we don't want to be reactive, but we don't also, neither do we want to be water right now. Although there is a water element to the spread, and there are emotional aspects that we want to give attention to. Let's give some attention to those emotional aspects right now. Here are those two cards. Here in the air, we had left to right, the Knight of Wands and the Four of Wands. Now, air, and they're both fire. Both cards are fire, right? Wands, wands, fire. Air, the air section of the spread. Air and fire are well dignified. They build each other up. They feed each other, right? So having these fire elements in the air section of the suit are wonderful. They're powerful. Maybe a little bit too powerful. Let's take a look. We're starting off with this beautiful, one of my favorite cards. This beautiful Knight of Wands. Right? And you may be saying to me, if you've seen me speak before, of the Emperor card in the Harris-Crowley deck. The Emperor card is one of my, I'd say 2, maybe 3 cards that I don't like because of the color. Yeah? One of the 2 cards that I don't like because of the color is the Two of Wands, because of the blue, the quality of the blue that is there behind the fire of the red wands. It's so blah. I don't know how to describe it. It's like if babies were to puke sky blue in a very dissatisfying way. That's what that color makes me feel. I love sky blue, but the mushy kind of quality to this sky blue that is on that card is, in contrast to the powerful, beautiful red, is just so, I don't like the color choices. Now, the other one is the Emperor card, which is all red and yellow. Very strong red, very strong yellow, and it's so strong it hurts my eyes. Not physically, but I just don't like looking at it a long time because it's so much, you know? So maybe you're looking at this card and you're thinking, you don't like the Emperor card, you love this card, what's up with that? Well, because there's the brown here. The brown of that horse and the gold on the armor of the gold, I assume it's supposed to be gold. It looks kind of brownish to me, but I think it's supposed to be gold. On the suit of armor of the knight, eases this card so much for my eyes, I can't tell you. So this is one of my favorite cards in the deck, the Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands is associated with Sagittarius, primarily with Sagittarius, which is the domicile of Jupiter, from which mutable fire's vital attributes enter our world, enter the reading that we're giving. Enter the answer to the question to how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week. This is where our head can be. And I think this is mostly beneficial with some caveats. Now, we had Jupiter in Capricorn at the very beginning, so this is a good thing. The association between the Knight of Wands and the Two of Discs with Jupiter in Capricorn, this gives a little bit more strength and power and authority to Jupiter, perhaps. But really the main authority I think here is Aries and Mars and a little bit of Virgo. Okay, so moving right along. The hexagram for this night is hexagram 51, which is thunder over thunder. Not fire over fire, thunder over thunder, which is the suddenness of thunder. It says, be apprehensive but cool, resolute and energetic. That's the suggestion for that hexagram according to Crowley. So, who is the Knight of Wands for us? Because we all have all of the knights, all of the queens, all of the princes, and all of the princesses within all of us. Within each of us, I should say. So, the Knight of Wands is the knight of the energy of pure action. Pure fire, fire of fire. It's generosity, which is wonderful. But on the negative side, it's also fierce. And I'm not saying fierce like RuPaul might say fierce, but fierce like battle fierce. Yeah, fierceness in battle kind of fierceness. Swift impulsiveness as well. Now, following impulses can be good. But with the fierceness and quick impulse following, we also have the potential for being cruel or brutal, being thoughtless, being so impulsive that we become thoughtless, right? So we might behave suddenly, we might behave immediately, right? And what we do could be a little risky, could also be revolutionary. But this really isn't the week for revolution, I don't think. Right? We want to change within the structures, within the Saturnian structures that we are in, where we are, when we are, who we are. So the revolutionary is perhaps not what we want to move in the direction of. And yet we may still be asked to do something brave and bold, damning the consequences. A little bit like the Death card and the Tower card, right? But we don't want to do that necessarily in the outer world, but in the inner world. We want to direct that. Okay, let me step that back a little bit. Yes, we're going to do that in the outer world, but not by breaking shit around us. We want to break the boundaries and the structures within ourselves and then act in the world, rather than acting in the world to break shit around us, you know? So we want to do something brave and bold, damn the consequences, by cracking open within ourselves. Allowing change from within, with the fire from within. However, we want to be careful that we don't go too far into becoming so impulsive that we start damaging up people or things around us, right? And the companion card to that card is the Four of Wands. And you'll notice here we've got another circle. Even though it's a Wands card, we've got another circle, echoing the Ace of Discs and the Death card in this deck. Now in the Harris-Crowley deck, the Four of Wands is also in a circle, right? We see that the Wands have a dove and a ram for Aries and Venus around, and the wands are crossed in a way that we have a circle. Maybe I should have brought the card to show you, but I'm trying to describe it in the Harris-Crowley deck. Here we have another circle. I don't see the doves, and I don't see well, I guess I do see, okay, imagination being stretched here. Maybe, just maybe, you see that green, what do we call spiralish thing there? Though paired here, those could be the ram's horns, right? Then the red thing that seems to be growing out of the center of that, maybe that is to represent the dove's wings, maybe for Venus, maybe because this card is Venus in Aries. Now Venus is not naturally domiciled in Aries, but Venus is the partner of Mars. So Venus is here in her partner's immature domicile. Mature domicile for Mars is Scorpio. The immature domicile for Mars is Aries. And I'm not trying to cast shade on Aries. It's just it's the baby zodiacal sign, right? It's the baby of the bunch. It's the first one of the zodiacal year. It's on the wet path coming down as opposed to the dry path returning up. So yeah, the Aries is the less mature of the zodiacal signs. Venus is in the house of her partner here. And someone who has Venus in Aries is passionate and dynamic, according to what I've researched, which is wonderful. However, the title for this card is completion. So, completion may satisfy, but we want to remember that nothing remains the same. Now, why is that important? Right now, we're looking at change. But before the change begins, something is going to be called for completion, right? Ta-da! Completion! In this card, clear boundaries are recommended. Yeah, promises should be fulfilled. The foundation for our future progress and change and transformation should be completed. Now, in the Smith-Waite deck, we can think of that card as the Four of Wands as a milestone. Could be a wedding card as well, but a milestone. Suppose this could be a wedding card too. Venus in the house of her partner. Mars could be that as well, but a milestone. The Four of stability and order, but also limitation. And maybe it's within that limitation of the completion that this new thing is going to be born or is going to appear, manifest. On the shadow side of this card, there may be no intention to expand or modify the situation. But we want to remember that it can't remain as it is forever. We don't want it to remain as it is forever. We're, especially at this point, we're in the anticipatory process of change. So, we don't want to lean into that, let's keep everything as it is, which sometimes Venus might slip into. We want to lean more into the direction of Mars. Yes, we enjoy what we've completed. We have the foundation. We have reached this milestone. We've got the platform from which to leap, which is something that the Knight of Wands is very excited to do. But we want to do that without hurting the people or things around us. We don't want to go overboard, right? We want to pull that fierceness and swiftness and our ability to be impulsive from within without going overboard and start being damaging to the people or things around us. That's where our heads should be. Our head should be pointed towards our passions and finding how those passions can express themselves well from the foundation of where we are. In all those ways that we were talking about, right? So friends, we've got some Earth to look at. Let's move into the cards for the Earth. Here they are. Here in the Earth section, we have two cards. You know that. The Five of Discs and Judgment. Now, in the Earth section, these are both dignified, well-dignified cards. Yeah, Five of Discs, Five of Earth, Earth and Earth, beautiful. Judgment. Judgment in this deck is associated with fire. Fire and Earth are neutral. Now they neither build each other up nor tear each other down. Perfect placement for both of these cards. And remember, the Judgment card is perhaps here because of the Tower card in the fire section. The Tower card allows the Judgment card to manifest here in the section for manifestation, the Earth. Wonderfully, wonderfully placed cards. So we begin with this card, which is not so happy. The Five of Discs. The art doesn't look very happy, does it? You see they look like gears that are cracking, don't they? The title for this card is Worry. And it's associated with Mercury in Taurus. Now, Mercury in Taurus gives us the Virgo decunate of Taurus, which would be the second decunate. And because it's the second decunate, we have a complement. The complement here is, guess what? It's Venus in Aries. Remember that? The Four of Wands is Venus in Aries. The complement here is Venus in Aries. So this worry is a complement to the completion. Have you ever felt that? When something was completed, it felt good, but then there is that niggling, is that what we call it? Niggling, nagging sense of worry for what's next, what's coming next in the background. Maybe that's that kind of complement, maybe. But because this is Mercury in Taurus, we have the mutable aspect of fixed Earth's vital attributes entering our reading. Now the mutable aspect of fixed Earth, Taurus. So we have stability on the edge of disruption. Crowley describes it as an earthquake in slow motion. That doesn't sound disturbing in the least, does it? Slow seismic shifts of attachments. We can feel this ground slipping away. We're not jumbled and knocked off balance, but we can feel the earth slipping away, right? Our attachments are starting to shift. And so worry. Something that has been taken for granted or even forgotten about is shifting. Something we haven't been giving our attention to is changing here. So we may want to slow down gradually and even shift the course we are going while we are doing this. We might want to look and make some subtle, not rapid, but subtle course corrections. And maybe start giving attention to some of those things we haven't been giving attention to up until recently. Because things are shifting to a different state. So maybe we want to strip down to the essentials or wait to begin something because our resources could be drained if we start something new too quickly. So we want to strip stuff down. Remember the tower. Now strip things down. Things are changing. We have the Ace of Discs, but the Ace of Discs is not the beginning, it's the seed of the beginning, right? So this is right now, it's not the time for the ace to actually become something new. Which this card, I think, says is it's okay, that's okay. And maybe to give room for that new thing, the manifestation, the change, the shift to occur, we want to strip down to the essentials, whatever that would mean for you. Whether that means letting go of unnecessary tasks, whether that means letting go of unnecessary things, doing some house cleaning, doing some inventory, personal inventory perhaps even. Maybe hold that seed of the Ace of Discs, which is in our water right now, or in our emotions, for the best planting time, and now prepare the ground for that. Get that foundation which we are putting our attention on in the Four of Wands, right? Ready, so that in the work that we're doing is to prepare the ground perhaps for that seed to be planted. But that clearing of the ground might not be emotionally comfortable. It might cause us some worry. Because we feel things shifting and slipping away. Which happens when things are completed, right? Completed, it's done, yay! But then they start slipping away into the past, into the off to the sides, whatever. And then we have, as its partner, the call, right? Judgment, Aeon, fire. Now this is the path from Hod to Malkut. So if we look at the paths on the tree, from the major arcana that we have for this week, we had Tiphereth from the heart into Netzach, our victory, with the death card. Then with the tower card, which was before it, but we're moving down the lightning path of the tree. Now down to Netzach, we moved over to Chod with the tower card. And then now in this card, we move from Hod, we skip Yesod, and we move right down into Malkut. Now, technically, we should be going down to Yesod and into Malkut, but here we're going right into Malkut. From our surrender to what is in Hod, we go into manifestation. The call, which can therefore be a little bit abrupt, right? Instead of shifting into Yesod and then down into Malkut with the world card, we're going with the judgment card, right, circumventing Yesod into Malkut. And Crowley associates this card with the Hebrew letter Shin, which kind of looks like a W. But it's the Hebrew letter associated with the tooth or teeth, which is biting and holding on to stuff. Steadfastness and faith. Being careful with our actions, but also strength. Being Shin, we have the rune Lagus, which kind of looks like an arrow pointing up with one of the sides lopped off. So we come up with this way and like this, if that makes sense to you. And Lagus is the rune for lake, water. Also renewal and regeneration. Perfect for the judgment card, right? Achieving goals. Goals is possible here. So for this card in this deck, the final decision with respect to the course of the past, to the present, to the future is prepared. Taking the definitive step in the direction of completion. Completion up there in the air section, right? Making every act in accordance with the target of our will. Also, asking where our actions are leading us. Yeah? We take the step in the direction of where we want to go and be and what we want to experience and manifest, but we also want to ask ourselves, do an inventory, ask ourselves, are the actions that I'm taking actually leading in the direction I think I'm going in? Because we can sometimes be wrong, right? So we want to scrutinize our actions, the connections that we have with other people, and the decisions that we're making. Are they all in alignment with the course of our flow of intention? Because each action and each decision bring about a new state of being. So we want to be careful. We want to be clear as to the decisions we're making. Are they in alignment with us and our intention? The actions we are taking, are they in alignment with us and our intention? The flow of our intention. How do we feel about it? And how do we know? We ask, how do we feel about them? Does it feel good? Does it feel joyous? Does it inspire gratitude? Does it feel satisfying even? And if not, we might want to double check. Is this really, really the right thing for me at this time? Can I move beyond that perhaps potentially negative stance or feeling about what I'm doing or what I'm deciding on? And if not, maybe I need to stop. So that's what this card is asking us for right now. And if it's worry that we're feeling, we might want to pause and not do the action yet. If we can't overcome this, the negative aspect of this, it's not time for this yet. once we're able to do the work of shifting this, of making the shift that this is indicating in a, or with a more positive, not spiritually bypassing, but if we can shift the worry that this card may be indicating to something more in the lines of satisfied acceptance, hopefulness, things are getting better, I can see that I'm where I'm going, what I'm doing actually is moving in the direction of what I want to experience, what I want to become, then maybe we can start doing this. Does that make sense? So we're here in the midst of change. We're here in the midst of change. I think that's the title of this video. We're here in the midst of change. How are we going to navigate that? I think that's what this video is all about, here in the midst of change. So friends, we're going to get some advice from the I-Ching cards. Let me show them to you right now. Here they are. You just saw the two cards for the advice or the summation of this spread from the I-Ching. Beautiful cards, don't you think? I highly recommend this deck. Again, the Facebook page for the creator of this deck is down there in the description box below. Shoot the creator a message and hopefully you'll be able to get this deck, maybe even with the newly published and expanded guidebook, which is I'm really looking forward to. So you saw from left to right we had hexagram 39, which is limping. That's not such a happy one. And then hexagram 10, which is caution. Doesn't really sound very good, right? Limping and caution doesn't sound like good, like a happy message. But let's start off with limping. Here it is. These two cards seem to me to be very well balanced. Now there's more black in one and more orange in the other, but they both have the backgrounds of that tan color are well balanced. So we've got differences, but a harmony between them as well, to me. Maybe not to you, but to me, yes. And we start off with limping again, which is water over mountain. The limping hexagram tells us that obstacles ahead that cause movement to be hindered are potential. There could be things which block our passage, our way forward. So we're advised not to blindly move forward in adversity here. We want to pause, reflect, and choose the best strategy. We've had some indications for that in the larger spread as well, I believe. Remember? We mentioned that with the with the Knight of Wands, yeah, that there's the potential of going too hard and too hot. We want to pause and make sure that we're moving, we're not damaging our environments or people around us, right? Now we want to, also with the worry card, right? We want to pause and look at what we might not have been paying attention to and strip down to the bare essentials. And we've had indications for this in this week's spread. So we want to focus on our inner virtues. Remember, we want to focus on that inner tower cracking open. Focus on our inner virtues, and constant growth is better than focusing on external challenge. Look within rather than without. So this is the first piece of advice, and this, I think, was indicated several times throughout the spread. The next card is the caution card, which is heaven over lake. I don't know if you can see this in the card, but there's a tiger there. Let me see if I can point out their head. See, that's the head of the tiger. And let's see, that's the body of the tiger. That's the body of the tiger. So the tail is apparently coming around, maybe? No, those are the paws. I don't know. Okay, so, but you can kind of see the tiger there, right? The subtitle of this card, according to the creator, is Stepping on a Tiger's Tail Without Being Bitten. So we do an act that is actually very dangerous, but it's okay because we're not going to get bitten, but still, we want to be cautious. We want to navigate the challenges ahead. There is danger, but it is avoidable. So we want to stay calm and persistent in challenging situations. And we've had indications of those challenges, right? And we've had indications to be, don't blindly move forward, pause, reflect. Choose the best strategy, focus on inner virtues. Here, there's danger, but it's avoidable. Stay calm and persistent in challenging situations. Stay true to the right path. Judgment card. Are the actions that we're performing ones that are in alignment with our intention, with the flow of our intention? So we want to stay true to the right path to overcome challenges and achieve success. So these cards, being limping and caution, are not bad cards in the sense of things are going wrong, but rather success is possible if we are cautious, if we don't rush forward. Which is the challenge of that Knight of Wands, right? Up in the air, that the Knight of Wands can burn too hot. We want to be careful of that. Be cautious. We burn too hot, we're going to step on the tiger's tail too hard, and we will be bitten. Here, it's not necessary. There is a great possibility, that potential for our not being bitten in these circumstances if we just pay attention to what we're doing. And we focus on our inner virtues, whatever they be for you. And our inner growth, rather than what's going on outside. So we check in with what we're doing, not to see if that action is good or bad, but rather to see if what we're doing is in alignment with ourselves and our path and our intention and the flow of our intention, right? Because where are we? We're in the midst of change. And what a perfect reading for what time of year is this? It's going to be uploaded right before the new year. Perfect reading for this year. I didn't even think of that when I was laying the cards out. But this really does feel like a New Year's reading, doesn't it? So friends, what do you think? I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. Does it make sense? Does it seem to ring true for you? Yes? Let me know. No? Let me know. I would love to hear from you. And again, thank you for hitting those thumbs up and those subscribe buttons and the alarm bells. That's beneficial for you. My email address is below if you want a private reading from me. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you. Happy New Year!